MegaPodTastic.
Good morning, MegaPodlings. It is Krazy Joe on a beautiful but a little bit sad Friday morning. Yesterday, I was driving to work, and I listen to podcasts in the car. It's usually what I do. I'm a podcaster. That's what podcasters do. We listen to other podcasts. And I subscribe to a lot of podcasts. And as a result, because my commute to and from work is only a half hour, and I have a long list of podcasts to get to, I'm often behind. So what I do is I make a little playlist. As new podcasts are released, I add them to my playlist. And I listen to them all in order of release. So if Skippy puts out a new episode of Skippy's playlist, or Skippy's podcast, I add it to the playlist. Then if Jimmy puts out a new Jimmy's podcast, I add that to the list. So I'll get to Skippy, then I'll get to Jimmy. You know, those aren't real podcasts as far as I know. No offense, if Skippy and Jimmy are out there doing great podcasts, my hat's off to them. But yesterday, I was listening to, in the morning, got in my car, next podcast on the list. There's a podcast called Zilch. It's hosted by a guy named Ken Mills, and it's a podcast devoted to the Monkees. And I was just getting to a podcast from early February, and the title of the episode was Happy Peter Tork Day. So I drive in listening to this episode, and basically Ken Mills, the host of the show, was celebrating Peter Tork's birthday. And he did this by playing an interview with Peter Tork and a couple tracks off Peter Tork's latest CD. When he's not with the Monkees, Peter Tork has another band called Peter Tork and Shoe Suede Blues, who I saw live in Sellersville, Pennsylvania several years ago. So I drive in listening to this interview with Peter, listening to tracks off the Shoe Suede Blues album, get to my desk, and about 20 minutes later, after I got to my desk at work, 20 to 30 minutes, somewhere around there, I find out Peter Tork has died yesterday. And it was all very, very surreal, because to be listening to an interview with the guy in the morning, and then maybe not even an hour after you've finished listening to this interview with him, you hear he's no longer with us. It's all very, very surreal. In fact, the news of his death had probably already hit the internet, but I was not on the internet. I was dropping kids off at school and then driving, so I had no idea. And Ken Mills had no idea when he recorded this podcast, because it was from early February. I was just late getting to it. Now, I don't think I talk about music much in general. I don't talk about music much on this channel. So if you're a regular viewer to this channel, you probably have no idea what the Monkees mean to me. But around 1985, 1986, the Monkees were sort of the first band I ever loved. And if you look at the things that Krazy Joe loves, there's Star Trek, there's the Muppets, Star Wars, superheroes. You know, there's certain things that I love that are very, very near and dear to my heart. And the Monkees is very high on that list. I love the Monkees. First concert I ever went to was the Monkees in 1987 with Weird Al Yankovic as their opening. First album I ever bought. I mean, I'm sure I had kids' records. I had like Mickey Mouser size and all that crap when I was a kid. But the first like real album I ever had was Then and Now, The Best of the Monkees. You know, these guys, and my first exposure to the Monkees was actually Davy Jones's appearance on the Brady Bunch. Because I remember around 85 or 86, my local TV station, WTXF Channel 29 in Philadelphia, started airing reruns of the Monkees every weekday morning. Now, I didn't know who the heck the Monkees were. So I'm watching, because it came on my TV, and I'm like, hey, that's Davy Jones from the Brady Bunch. I know who that guy is. He's the guy Marcia wanted to take to the prom with her. And that was my first exposure. So I watched the show, watched the Monkees, fell in love with it. I was a kid. I was in grade school. The humor was so silly. It just spoke to me at that age. The music was fantastic. Like I said, first band I ever fell in love with. Bought all their albums. First concert I went to. And I never stopped loving the Monkees. I've seen them several times live. Never all four at once. Because in the 80s when they toured, Mike Nesmith didn't go with them. It was just Davy, Mickey, and Peter. Then I went to a show around 01 where Peter didn't show up. I went in expecting to see Davy, Mickey, and Peter, and I just saw Mickey and Davy. Peter wasn't even there. Then in recent years, Davy died. Peter and Mickey have been touring. And I actually have tickets in 2 weeks to see Mike Nesmith and Mickey Dolenz perform together. So I've seen several versions of the Monkees live, but never all four of them at once. And I've seen all four of them solo. I saw Peter Tork perform solo with Shoe Suede Blues. Saw Mike Nesmith perform with his band, the First National Band. I saw Davy Jones perform at Epcot at the World Showcase Pavilion. And I've seen Mickey live. So yeah, I really have a great love for these guys. And I met Peter Tork twice. Once was at that show in Sellersville, the back of the theater. He did a meet and greet. He signed my poster for the movie Head. It's framed and hanging in our house. All three of them signed it, except Davy, because unfortunately Davy passed before I got him to sign it. So yeah, I met Peter a couple times. And man, some celebrity deaths hit you harder than others. I mean, the one thing with a celebrity is you don't actually know them personally. So it's a little weird. You're mourning a death of a person who you don't really know. But sometimes the loss hits you almost as hard as if it was someone you do know. And that's kind of how I felt about Peter. And that's how I felt about Davy as well when he died in 2012. So a couple weeks from now, my brother and I have tickets to see Mike and Mickey. We've had these tickets for a long time. And this show was always supposed to be just Mike and Mickey. It was promoted as the Monkees present the Mike and Mickey show. Peter never was supposed to be a part of this tour. At the time this tour started, I think he was working on his new Shoe Suede Blues album. This was just a side thing for Mike and Mickey. It was never intended to include Peter. But suddenly, this show that I'm going to in 2 weeks takes on a whole new air of kind of sadness about it. Because before, when I bought the tickets, it was, hey, 2 of the Monkees are doing a live show together, just 2 of them. But now it's the last 2 Monkees. The last 2 remaining Monkees are doing a show together. And I think it's hard to be a fan of the Monkees and think that anyone in that auditorium watching that show isn't going to be thinking about Peter and thinking about how wonderful it would be if he were up on the stage. How wonderful it would be if all four of them were back up on that stage. It really is the end of an era. It's not just the Monkees. It's not just Peter Tork. I'd grown up in the 70s, the late 70s, early 80s. Being in my early 40s. We were saying goodbye to so many of the icons of our youth. The people we grew up with who kind of made us who we are. We've already lost 3 members of the original Star Trek cast. And it's a sad day. I take these walks. Very often I shoot a video while I'm taking a walk. But a couple years ago, before I started doing that, I used to put on my earphones, my earbuds as they call them, and listen to music as I took a walk. And around 2016, the most frequent thing I would listen to on my walks was the 50th anniversary Monkees reunion album, Good Times. So, I don't know. Losing a Monkee, man. That one hurts. That one hurts more than the average celebrity death. So, I don't know. I don't have what's to say. I mean, I've just went on for 12 minutes. So I guess at 12 minutes I do have things to say, but basically I'm at a loss. And wow, could that truck be any louder? That truck is pretty far away, and yet it's so loud. Whew. You know, rest in peace, Peter Tork. Thank you for all the good memories. Thank you for the laughs. Thank you for the music. You will be missed. Maybe someday I'll put together a better video about my thoughts on the Monkees, but it's a little too raw right now, and I'm not prepared yet. This is just kind of my gut reaction after having a day to sit with it, because yesterday I was pretty upset. I'm still pretty upset, but yesterday I don't think I could have talked about it. Keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas with the plastic feet. Keep wearing those pajamas. Tell everyone you meet. Keep wearing those pajamas with the back door flap. Keep wearing those pajamas. Don't open, it's a trap. Oh no, it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander Adamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now we're having fun. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now the song is done.